All right, here's game lab number 33, and this is about putting in a start screen in a game so a user has a chance to see some instructions and get set to play the game before the game actually starts. Let me go over here. I'll come back to Google Classroom in a minute, but let me go over here and show you what I'm talking about. This is one that's already done, and this is a similar thing to what you're going to do today. And this game idea that I have here is not anything fancy, and we've done similar things before in demos and in lessons that we've done. So I'm going to hit run, and the first thing you notice here on the game screen is, okay, this is, a start screen that gets displayed. Nothing fancy, but there are some text messages there. It says collect 10 stars to win, arrows to move the player, click the start button to go, and then you see a start button right there. All right. So if I take the mouse and I click the start button, the game starts. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I'm going to reset that and run it again. You notice how when I hit run, when I hit run, the game doesn't begin yet. It's sitting here on this screen, right, like this. Nothing's really happening, and it's kind of waiting, in a sense. It's sort of waiting for you to do something before you really start playing the game. All right, so you click start, and then the game begins. And then it's just a matter of you move this little alien, you try to catch stars, and it said, remember the instructions said catch 10 to win, and the stars are falling fairly fast. It's not as easy as it looks. All right, so I'm up to 6, 7, 8. I might win here in a second. Boom, and boom, and boom. There it is. I caught 10 stars, and I do have a little message that pops up here and says, you win 10 stars. Okay. So what are you going to do on this? Well, you don't have a ton to work on this, but you have some things to work on. There's some things I want you to try out. And a lot of what I want you to do on this assignment is just see the logic of how this works. I don't know if you'll find it confusing or not, but let's take a look. So on the Wednesday assignment, I've got the handout posted, and there's not a ton on the handout because I didn't document everything. If you need help doing this assignment, you could be watching this movie, which if you're hearing my voice here, you are watching this movie. So you can use the movie to help you. You can use me to help you if you're in class, or the demo that I do in class. So, or help each other. So get through it one way or another. But anyway, the handout's there. Here's some code for you to start with. So you're going to click that, and we're going to view code, and we're going to remix. All right. Now, to begin with, if I run this right now, there is a start button. That's all that shows up. And if I click it, nothing happens. All right. So that's where we are right now. There are obviously some things missing here. So we've got to go to work on filling in the gaps that are missing. So let's look at what we've got. There's a sprite that is a star that's going to be a part of this game. And to begin with, its velocity is set to 0, and it's not visible either. Its visibility is set to 0 as well. There's also a sprite that is the player. It's a little robot, and its visibility is set to 0 as well. So that's kind of an important part of it. At the very beginning, if you're going to have a start screen, your actual game pieces, you can't see them. You set them to invisible so that they're not, you can't see them. And you also, if something's going to move later, you kind of want to set its velocity to 0 at the very beginning because you don't want it to move yet. The game hasn't started yet. So all the actual game pieces, velocities are 0, visibilities are 0. There's this start button right here. And if I go over to the animation tab, this is all stuff I found in the animation libraries. Even the start button is in the animation libraries. If you click new animation, you'll find all that stuff. All right, so the start button is created, and there are 2 variables. We're going to keep track of stars that have been caught, so I set caught equal to 0. And here's kind of a big key to this whole thing. Right here, there's a variable called start, and it's set to false. Now, we're going to go to work with that right away. Now, what you're going to need to do as you work through this is look for comments. I put a lot of comments in this one. So you're going to need to look for comments that are marked with these stars, these asterisks right here, because that indicates to you, you got a little work to do. So this one, we're coming up to a spot where we got some work to do. Okay, create an if block. that checks to see if for a mouse click over the start button. Okay, so here's what that looks like. You're going to bring over an if block, drop it right in here. Okay, and what we're going to do is go to the world drawer, and we're looking for mouse pressed over. All right, that's, clicking the mouse on top of something is what that is. So I'm going to say mouse pressed over, and I'll drop that in. And it's going to be button, right? Because it's that start button that I want to check. So I'm going to say if mouse pressed over button. And I'm not going to do very much here, but do you remember this variable that I set back up here that says start equals false? What we're checking is, did somebody press the mouse, click the mouse over the start button? And if they did, we want to switch this value from false to true, because that means if somebody clicked the start button, they want to start playing. All right, so that's just going to look like this. I'm going to use the variable, and I'm just going to use the x equals, not the var. Don't use the var. This is just going to say start equals true. All right, so we're switching the value of that variable from false to true. Now somebody has clicked the button, so it's like game on, all right? It's time to start. All right, so let's keep looking on down. We've taken care of that. Now it just says here comes a bunch of functions. No work for you to do here. These are functions that are already written into the program here. Instructions, check start, all this. You got to look for stars. That's where you're going to, here we go. Right, so on this function that says instructions, there's a bunch of stars here. Okay, we've got some work to do. So what we need to do is use, this is all text commands. This is just telling somebody how to play. All right, well, I'm just going to do this, and I'll do this pretty quick here. I'm going to say fill, and I want white for mine, and I think I'll use I'm going to use a text size. And I'm going to use 18. You could try whatever you want. And now a little series of text messages. I'm going to put 3 of them on there. So I'm going to bring over the text string. And I'm going to use 3 of them, because they're like 3 things that I want to tell them about here. All right. And I can put them on here. Tell the user how to win, how to move, and how to start. All right. So I'm going to say, let's see, how to win. Collect 10 stars to win, period. All right, and I'm going to put that over 30, and you got to pay attention to your X's and Y's, and I'll put it over 30 and down 50. All right, here I'm going to say arrow keys to move player. Except I'm going to try to spell player correctly. And I'm going to put that over 50 and down 100. And then on the last one, I'm going to say click start button to begin. And I'll put that over 30 and down 150, I think is what I'll do. So I just went 50, 100, 150 on my Y values. All right, so I've got these 3 little text messages that when we run this, we hope those are going to show up and give the user a little bit of instruction. This is in a function called instructions, which is called right there. Okay, so let's roll it on down. Remember, anytime you see some stars, what you need to do is, here's a little correction I have to make. This will all be set for you, I think, when you're doing it. But I need to pull those off. All right. All right, yeah, now we're set. Now the next thing we need to do is right here. Once somebody clicks and this is in a function called check start. And once somebody clicks that start button, the value of start is going to be set equal to true. And if that's the case, we're going to say if start equals true, then there's some things we want to have happen. All right. This is just like environment stuff. Black background, little rectangle that makes some like ground at the bottom. All right, so here's stars right here indicate you got something to do, and then right here we're going to go to work on it. Make the start button go away. Well, we know how to do that, don't we? That's going to be a sprite.visible. So I'm going to squeeze that in here, and I'm just going to say button.visible equals false. Make the star and the player visible. Oh, okay. So that's going to be a couple more visibles. So I'll bring, there's a visible and there's a visible. And I'm going to want the star dot visible to be true, or you can put a 1. And I'm going to want the player dot visible to be true. All right, now that somebody has clicked the start button, we want to we want to bring those things online, right? We want to make them show up. The other thing it says here, get the star moving. Oh, okay, that's going to be a velocity y. We want the stars to fall. So I'm going to say star velocity y, and I suggest a random number in this case. The randoms I'm going to use are going to be not 210, that'd be too quick. Slowest is 10, fastest is 20. You could use different numbers if you want to. Okay, now, there's a little note right here that just says, call the scoreboard function. All right, well, that one's pretty easy. Here's your job on that one. Just go to functions, bring over a my function block right here, and just call. It's already written. You don't have to make the scoreboard function. You just have to call the scoreboard function. The reason for that is we don't want the scoreboard to show up until that start button has been pressed. All right, so I think we've taken care of these jobs that are in here, right? We said start button goes away, star shows up, player shows up, stars begin to fall, and we also are calling the scoreboard function right here. All right, now let's move on. In the function that's called reset star, this is the part where if a star does get past the robot and falls off the bottom, it needs to be reset back up at the top. We have done this kind of thing before. It's going to take a little series of commands here that we will use. We're going to need a .y. All right, so I'm going to bring one of those, and I'm also going to be using a .x, and I think I'm also going to be using a velocity y, which, by the way, I could copy and paste, but it's not going to be hard. All right, so if a star falls off the bottom, we want to set the star.y back to 0. That's back up at the top. The star.x, I'm going to make that say star. I would like for those to be random, right? Anywhere from 0 to 400, because I would like for the stars to kind of fall everywhere. And for the velocity, it's the same as what I did before. The star.velocity y is going to be a random number. And once again, I'm going to use 10 and 20 for my randoms. Yay, there we go. Let's scroll on down and see if we have any more work to do. Remember, look for these rows of asterisks. That's what's going to tell you if you have something you got to do. All right, that should be taken care of. All right, so let's go on down. We're looking. It looks like the catch star function is all written for you. All right, we're keeping track of stars that are caught, and we are resetting them back up to the top. Here's the scoreboard function, which keeps track of stars caught and shows it for you. It doesn't keep track of it, but it shows it to you. Here is the move player function. All that does is control the player. All right, so we're down to our last bit of work here. It's down in the win function. Okay, so this is checking to see, have you caught 10 stars? And if you have, we want to make the stars stop. We want to make the stars invisible. And we want some kind of, hey, you won. Good job. All right, well, that's all stuff we should know by now. How do we stop the star? That would be a velocity y, because the stars have been falling, right? So I'm going to say star velocity y 0. How do we hide the star? Make the star go away. That would be a dot visible. Star dot visible equals 0. And now we just need a little message that says, whoo, you did it. Yay, you won. All right, well, that's just text stuff. So you can kind of set that up if you want to like change a fill color or a font size or anything like that. You certainly can. But I'm just going to bring down a text block and say, I'll say 10 stars. You win. And be mindful of where you put it. I might go over about 50 and down like 200. We'll see how that works. Well, I think I've done it. I think I have. So, the proof is running it. Okay, so here we go. I run the program, and I see I'm getting to collect 10 stars to win. Arrow keys move the player. Click start button to begin. So far, so good. I click the start button. Oh, That's working. I can control the player. Let's catch some stars. Let's test our work. Oh, I've got 1, 2. Come on, it's harder than it looks. Told you it's harder than it looks. Those stars are falling fast. 4, 5, 6. I'm getting there. 7, 8, 9. One more. 10. I won. Yay! I now have a functioning program that has a start screen. Look at me go. All right. All right. Use the comments to guide you through, and ask for help if you need help. If you're in class, or watch this movie over and over. You know, if you're just doing this and just using the movie for help, pause it and rewind it back and watch a section over and over and make sure you get all the little things right, because this is one where all the little things have to go right. All right. Yay. We're done. Have at it. Go to it.